President Donald Trump recently declared that a 10% tariff will be imposed on Chinese imports, effective February 1st, 2025. This decision marks a substantial intensification of trade disputes between the United States and China. The announcement follows his prior initiative to introduce a 25% tariff on goods imported from Canada and Mexico, two of America's most significant trade partners. These tariff implementations are a component of a wider strategy employed by the Trump administration to tackle pressing issues, including unauthorized immigration, the illegal drug trade, and, in particular, the increasing flow of fentanyl into the country, a growing concern for national security. The imposition of the 10% tariff on Chinese imports represents the latest development in the continuing trade conflict, with Trump utilizing tariffs as a mechanism to address trade imbalances and counter what he has labeled as inequitable trade practices by China. Chinese authorities, in response, have expressed deep apprehension, arguing that there are no beneficiaries in a trade war. They have repeatedly warned that imposing tariffs and enacting countermeasures will ultimately be detrimental to all involved, leading to increased costs and disturbances in supply chains for both economies. Chinese officials have become increasingly outspoken regarding the risks associated with the escalation of tariff-related tensions. They have cautioned against a harmful cycle of economic antagonism, which could inflict damage not only on the United States and China, but also on the global economy as a whole. While focusing on China, Trump's trade policies have also put considerable pressure on North America, particularly concerning trade with Canada and Mexico. The proposed 25% tariffs on imports from these countries have prompted strong reactions from their leaders and industries. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has vowed to respond forcefully, emphasizing that Canada's energy exports are crucial to the U.S. economy. He warns that tariffs on these goods will not only hurt Canadian producers, but will also negatively affect American businesses. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has taken an even stronger stance, describing the tariffs as an economic declaration of war. He has outlined a series of retaliatory measures, including a possible boycott of American alcoholic beverages and targeted actions against U.S. products originating from Republican-controlled regions within the automotive industry. The global automobile industry is also feeling the repercussions of these trade policies. Volkswagen, a dominant player in the sector with significant production facilities in Mexico, has voiced concerns that these tariffs will severely disrupt the automotive market, not just in North America, but globally. The company has warned that American consumers will bear the financial burden through higher prices for cars and parts. Volkswagen's stance exemplifies the widespread impact that tariffs can have on global supply chains and multinational companies that depend on international production networks. Meanwhile, China has been quietly implementing its own retaliatory measures in response to U.S. tariffs. Over the past few months, Beijing has enacted policies that have largely escaped mainstream media attention, but could significantly escalate the trade dispute. One of the most notable countermeasures is China's restriction on the export of rare earth elements to the United States. These materials are indispensable for manufacturing high-tech products, including consumer electronics, batteries, and military-grade equipment. By limiting the supply of these crucial resources, China is strategically weakening the U.S. technology and defense sectors, both of which heavily rely on rare earth elements. Additionally, China has begun cutting back on oil imports from the United States, further intensifying economic tensions between the two nations. In a direct retaliatory move, China has imposed tariffs exceeding 74.9% on select American goods, signaling a firm stance against what it perceives as economic hostility from the U.S. Beyond its response to American tariffs, China has also broadened its economic countermeasures to include products imported from the European Union, Japan, and Taiwan. By extending its tariff policies, China is acknowledging the broader global dimensions of these economic disputes. The expansion of tariffs highlights the interconnected nature of global trade and the far-reaching consequences of economic policies enacted by major nations. As the trade confrontation unfolds, various industries are experiencing significant changes, and the long-term repercussions for the global economy remain uncertain. For example, the United States has escalated its restrictions on Chinese-manufactured electric vehicles, EVs. Initially, tariffs on Chinese EV imports were set at 25%, but this rate has now skyrocketed to 100%. U.S. officials justify this drastic measure by arguing that Chinese EV manufacturers receive substantial government subsidies, allowing them to sell vehicles at artificially low prices that undercut domestic competitors like Tesla and Rivian. This tariff increase is part of a broader initiative to bolster the domestic clean energy sector and promote U.S.-based production of critical technologies. In alignment with this goal, the U.S. has also raised tariffs on lithium-ion batteries, an essential component of electric vehicles, from 7.5% to 25%. The rationale behind these policy shifts is twofold. First, to reduce dependence on Chinese suppliers, who currently dominate the global battery market, and second, to encourage domestic battery production, which is vital for the future success of the electric vehicle industry. The semiconductor industry has also become a key battleground in the ongoing trade war. The United States has announced a substantial increase in tariffs on Chinese semiconductor imports, set to rise from 20.5% to 50% by 2025. The objective of these measures is to encourage domestic semiconductor manufacturing and mitigate national security risks associated with over-reliance on Chinese technology. These tariff hikes align with the CHIPS Act, a legislative effort aimed at strengthening U.S.-based chip production and ensuring the country retains its leadership in semiconductor innovation. The medical sector has not been immune to these tariff-related policy shifts. The United States is significantly raising tariffs on medical supplies from China, including syringes, needles, and various forms of personal protective equipment, PPE. Previously tariff-free, these items will now be subject to a 50% tariff by 2024, impacting approximately $18 billion worth of imports. The aim of these new policies is to enhance domestic manufacturing capabilities within the medical sector, particularly in light of supply chain vulnerabilities exposed during the COVID-19 pandemic. On the European front, the European Union has taken a firm stance against China's trade practices. In late 2024, the EU implemented new tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, ranging from 7.8% to 35.3%, bringing the highest rate to 45.3%. This decision follows an investigation revealing that Chinese EV manufacturers benefit from government subsidies that provide them with an unfair competitive advantage in European markets. Other nations have also taken strategic steps to counterbalance China's growing economic influence. Japan, historically an important trading partner with China, has intensified its industrial policies, particularly in key sectors like semiconductors, rare earth elements, and critical minerals. Japan's objective is to reduce its reliance on Chinese imports and safeguard its industrial base from potential supply chain disruptions. Similarly, Taiwan, a crucial player in the global semiconductor industry, is seeking to diversify its economic partnerships to lessen the risks associated with China's increasingly assertive trade policies. At the core of these escalating trade disputes is a shared objective among many nations to shield domestic industries from perceived threats posed by foreign competition. In response, China has adopted its own defensive measures, including the introduction of provisional anti-dumping tariffs on polyacetyl copolymers, a key material used in various industries, such as automotive manufacturing, electronics, and medical devices. Tariffs on U.S. exports of this material now range from 57.2% to 74.9%, demonstrating China's belief that American firms are engaging in unfair pricing practices within its market. The far-reaching consequences of these tariffs extend beyond the companies directly involved in the dispute. Industries reliant on polyacetyl copolymers, such as automotive and electronics manufacturing, are expected to experience higher production costs, which could translate into increased prices for consumers. As businesses grapple with these rising expenses, they may seek alternative suppliers or restructure supply chains to mitigate financial impacts. The escalating trade conflicts also pose substantial risks to global diplomatic relations. Continued retaliation through tariffs may trigger political consequences that extend beyond economic concerns. If these trade wars persist, the risk of political tensions escalating into broader diplomatic conflicts will only increase. Prolonged economic disputes may fuel animosity between nations and hinder international cooperation on critical issues. As the world observes these unfolding developments, especially with Trump's renewed push for aggressive trade policies, the coming months will be decisive in shaping the future trajectory of these conflicts. The global community must prioritize diplomatic solutions to maintain economic stability and international trade cooperation. Without strategic negotiations, retaliatory tariffs may continue to rise, ultimately resulting in higher costs for consumers and long-term geopolitical consequences that could jeopardize global prosperity. I have shared my opinion, but what do you think? Leave your comment, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. See you soon.